What happens when the person you love most becomes the one who shatters your world? My name is Emily, and this is the story of how a tragic accident, a marriage built on lies, and a husband's violent outbursts forced me to confront the darkest truth about my life. But through the pain, I found the strength to fight for my freedom, my children, and my future. Stay tuned to hear how I broke free from the man I thought I loved, how I protected my children from his abuse, and how I found hope in the most unexpected of places. Subscribe to my journey because sometimes the only way out is through. I'll never forget the moment I lay in that hospital room, surrounded by the steady beeping of the monitors, the sterile smell of antiseptic, and the weight of the pain that seemed to have seeped into every inch of my body. Then I heard the heavy footsteps. Angry, determined. David, my husband of 8 years, had barely visited me since the accident 3 weeks ago, but now, there he was.
"You've really done it this time, Emily,"
He spat, waving a stack of papers in front of me. Through the haze of pain medication, I could make out the familiar bills, hospital bills. My heart began to race, my pulse quickening with panic. Do you have any idea how much this is going to cost us? I shifted slightly in the bed, the pain in my broken pelvis flaring as I tried to move. David, it was an accident. I hit black ice. It wasn't my fault. The words barely left my mouth before he slammed his fist down onto the bedside table. I flinched, startled by the force of it. His voice rose, filled with rage as his eyes locked onto mine.
"Wasn't it your fault?"
He yelled. Nothing's ever your fault, is it, Emily? I'm drowning in debt and you go and pull this stunt. My heart pounded as I tried to make sense of his words. Debt? What was he talking about? As far as I knew, our finances were stable. I managed the household budget carefully with my job as an HR manager, and David's tech consulting business was thriving. At least that's what he always told me. What debt, David? What are you talking about? I asked, my voice trembling with confusion. That's when his anger reached its boiling point. His face turned beet red, veins bulging in his neck. Before I could react, his fist connected with my already bruised ribs, the pain shooting through my chest in an explosion of agony. I gasped for air, my vision clouding. I'm Emily Mitchell, 38 years old, mother of 5-year-old twins, Lily and Owen. From the outside, we appeared to have the perfect life. A beautiful home in Seattle's thriving tech corridor, successful careers, and perfect kids. I met David 6 years ago at a tech conference where his ambition and charm swept me off my feet. I thought I was living a dream back then. I never could have imagined that I'd end up here lying in a hospital bed, my husband's fists clenched in anger, ready for another blow. But sometimes, life's darkest moments force you to see the truth. This is the story of how an accident shattered the illusion of my marriage and how I found the strength to save myself and my children. David and I first met at the Seattle Tech Summit in 2018. I was giving a presentation on building inclusive workplace cultures when I noticed him sitting in the front row, asking insightful questions that made me feel like the smartest person in the room. Afterward, he approached me, his blue eyes sparkling with interest. "Your perspective on corporate culture is fascinating," he said, handing me his business card. "I'd love to grab coffee and hear more." Something about his confidence, the way he carried himself in his perfectly tailored suit, made my heart flutter. Looking back, I should have noticed how he always steered the conversation toward money, status, and influence. Our first date turned into 5 more in that same week. David was charming, attentive, and seemed to understand my ambitions perfectly. "You're different from other women," he would say, making me feel special. "You really get the tech world." Within 3 months, he was already talking about our future together. By 6 months, I was wearing his ring. The wedding was everything David wanted: lavish, over 300 guests, most of whom were business contacts. I didn't mind at the time. I was too in love, too caught up in the excitement of the moment to see how he turned every occasion into a networking opportunity. My parents worried it was too fast, but I assured them I knew exactly what I was doing. "Mom, Dad, I'm sorry I didn't listen." Now, lying in that hospital bed, I realized how wrong I had been to ignore the warning signs. The man I had married was not the man I thought he was. The years of charm had masked his darker side. The jealousy, the control, the manipulation. Now, as I lay there, bruised and broken, it became impossible to ignore. This was the moment the truth became impossible to ignore. The marriage I had built, the life we had shared, it was all built on a foundation of lies. And in that painful, raw moment, I finally found the courage to admit it. I deserved better. I deserved to be free. Everything changed when I got pregnant with the twins. David was thrilled at first. He loved the idea of having 2 babies at once, saying it was efficient. But as my pregnancy progressed, he became increasingly controlling. It started small, commenting on my eating habits, questioning my doctor's appointments, insisting I cut back my work hours for the baby's sake.
You don't need to work so hard,
He'd say, massaging my shoulders while I reviewed quarterly reports. I can handle everything.
just focus on our family.
His words sounded caring, but there was always an edge to them, a subtle pressure I couldn't quite name. Lily and Owen were born on a rainy Tuesday in March. They were perfect Lily with her curious eyes, always watching everything, and Owen with his infectious giggle. David seemed proud, showing off photos to clients and colleagues, but at home, he was different. The baby's crying irritated him. He started staying late at the office, claiming he needed to make up for all these new expenses. I tried to keep everything running smoothly. During my maternity leave, I created spreadsheets to track the twins' schedules, hired a part-time nanny so I could return to work, and maintained my HR director position, just with slightly reduced hours. I thought I was managing everything well, but David's criticism grew.
The nanny costs too much,
He'd complain, even though we could easily afford it.
Can't you handle things yourself? Other mothers do.
Or he'd question every purchase.
Another outfit for the kids? They'll outgrow it in a month.
Meanwhile, he never hesitated to buy himself new golf clubs or upgrade his car. I started walking on eggshells, trying to anticipate his moods. Good days meant he'd play with the twins, shower me with compliments, and talk about our bright future. Bad days meant silent treatments, slammed doors, and cutting Davids about my parenting or work performance. I told myself this was normal, just the stress of having young children and demanding careers. Looking back, I can see all the red flags I ignored, the way he gradually isolated me from friends, saying they were jealous of our success, how he insisted on managing our investments because finances are complicated, honey. The subtle put-downs disguised as jokes at dinner parties. But I was too focused on keeping our perfect image intact to admit something was deeply wrong. The truth about David's gambling started unraveling on a quiet Sunday morning. The twins were playing with their blocks in the living room when my credit card was declined at the grocery store. Embarrassed, I tried another one. The same result. Standing there with a cart full of groceries, I felt my cheeks burn as I made excuses to the cashier. Must be a system error, I mumbled, but deep down, something felt terribly wrong. All our cards were joint accounts that should have had plenty of money. I clearly remember driving home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel while the twins chatted happily in their car seats, oblivious to my growing panic. When I confronted David that evening, his reaction chilled me to the bone.
You're overreacting,
He snapped, pacing our kitchen like a caged animal. I made some investments that didn't pan out. It happens. But his eyes wouldn't meet mine, and his hands kept fidgeting with his phone. It took 3 more weeks of digging, of secretly checking statements when David was asleep to discover the truth. Thousands of dollars gone. Transfers to offshore betting sites, cash withdrawals at casinos, credit card cash advances with massive interest rates. Our savings had vanished into a black hole of gambling debts.
I can explain,
David said when I finally showed him the evidence. His voice took on that smooth, convincing tone I'd once found so charming. It's just temporary. I have a system. One big win and we'll be set for life. But this time his words rang hollow. The gambling was just the beginning. As our financial situation deteriorated, so did David's behavior. He started tracking my every movement through my phone's location settings, claiming he was worried about my safety. He questioned every purchase, every conversation, every minute I spent at work. "Who were you talking to for so long?" he demanded when I came home late from the office. "Why do you need new work clothes? Are you trying to impress someone?" His jealousy and paranoia grew alongside our mounting debt. I started hiding money, small amounts from my paychecks, deposited it into a secret account my sister helped me open. Every time David's anger flared over a lost bet, I'd add a little more, telling myself it was for the twins' future. Lily and Owen became experts at reading their father's moods, tiptoeing around the house when his face had that certain look. "Mommy, why is Daddy always mad?" Lily asked one night as I tucked her into bed. My heart broke seeing the worry in her little eyes. "Sometimes grown-ups get stressed," I explained, smoothing her hair. "But it's not your fault, sweetie." I promised myself that night that I had to find a way out, but I felt trapped. The final straw came when I discovered David had taken out a second mortgage on our house without my knowledge. Somehow he'd forged my signature. When I confronted him, his rage was terrifying. "You think you're so perfect," he shouted, throwing his phone across the room. "I did this for us. Everything I do is for this family." That night, as I lay awake listening to David's heavy breathing beside me, I started planning. I updated my resume, researched apartments, and looked into legal aid. I knew I had to be careful. David checked our bank statements obsessively now, but I never got the chance to execute my plan. 3 days later, everything changed. The accident that morning began like any other ordinary day. I dropped the twins off at kindergarten, watching as they dashed to join their friends with their matching lunchboxes swinging by their sides. "Love you, Mommy," they called in unison, their voices so carefree. I had no idea it would be weeks before I'd hear those words again. The roads were slick that day, a harsh reminder that Seattle's winter had been especially brutal. Temperatures had been well below freezing for days. I was on my way to an early meeting, mentally going over my presentation on quarterly retention rates when it happened. One moment I was driving cautiously down Madison Street, and the next, I felt weightlessness. Later, I learned that I had hit a patch of black ice, spun 3 times, and slammed into a concrete barrier. I don't remember the impact itself, but I'll never forget the cold, bone-chilling, suffocating cold seeping through my broken driver's side window and the pain. The pain was unimaginable. Through the haze, I could hear voices, sirens, someone urging me, "Stay with us, ma'am." A paramedic's face swam in and out of focus as they asked questions I couldn't answer. The sound of metal being cut away from around me made every movement feel like a shock of agony. I woke up 3 days later in the intensive care unit. The doctor's words filtered through the fog like fragments I couldn't fully comprehend. Broken pelvis, multiple rib fractures, internal bleeding, lucky to be alive. My phone sat beside me on the bed, the screen cracked but still lit with messages, dozens from work, my parents, my sister. But not a single one from David. My work team had rallied around me immediately. Jessica, my assistant, took over my projects and organized a schedule for caring for the twins. My parents flew in from Phoenix to help. But David, he sent a single text. "Can't leave work. Deal with insurance." That was it. Days turned into weeks. The twins visited, their small hands gentle as they hugged me, their wide eyes full of worry. "When are you coming home, Mommy?" Owen asked. I would smile through the pain and tell him it would be soon, but in my heart, I had no idea when I would leave this hospital bed or how I would pay for any of this. It wasn't until week 3 that I learned the truth. The insurance had lapsed. David hadn't paid the premiums in months. Every penny I had so carefully budgeted for emergencies had been drained. That's when David finally decided to show up at the hospital, leading to the confrontation that would change everything. The scene in my hospital room felt surreal, like a nightmare unfolding in real life. After his first punch to my ribs, I reached for the call button, but David knocked it away. His face twisted in fury, a level of rage I had never seen, not even during his worst gambling losses. "You ruined everything," he spat, towering over my bed. "Do you have any idea what these medical bills will do to me? They're garnishing my wages." Fear gripped me, my body too broken to defend itself. "The kids need their mother," I gasped, trying to reason with him. It was the wrong thing to say. David's laugh was cold, hollow, and cruel. The kids? Do you really think you can take care of them like this? You're pathetic, Emily, lying here and expecting everyone to clean up your mess. I saw his fist rise again, but before it could land, the door to my room burst open. Jessica, my assistant, stood there, coffee cup frozen halfway to her mouth. Behind her, my day nurse, also named Jessica, took in the scene in a split second. "Security!" she shouted down the hallway, already moving towards my bed. The weight of the situation hit me like a freight train, but in that moment, I knew something had to change. I couldn't stay in this toxic, dangerous environment any longer. Not for me, and certainly not for my children. I had to find a way to take back control of my life. David tried to switch personalities instantly, the charming mask sliding back into place. "Just a heated discussion," he said smoothly, stepping back. "My wife is confused about the—" But Jessica had her phone out, recording everything. Smart, brave Jessica, who'd always seen through David's facade. 2 security guards arrived within seconds. "Sir, step away from the patient," one ordered, moving between us. David's mask slipped again, rage flashing across his face. "This is a private matter," he spat. "She's my wife." "Not for long," I found myself saying, my voice stronger than I felt. The words hung in the air between us, and I watched the realization dawn in his eyes. This was it, the moment I finally stood up to him. Even lying broken in a hospital bed, I was done being his victim. As security escorted David out, his threats echoed down the hallway. "You'll regret this, Emily. You're nothing without me." But for the first time in years, his words didn't cut into me. Instead, they strengthened my resolve. Jessica was already checking my vitals, her movements gentle but efficient. "We're going to document everything," she assured me. "And Mrs. Mitchell, some people can help." She shared a knowing look with Jessica, who was already making calls. Everything moved quickly after David's assault. Jessica, my nurse, photographed the fresh bruising around my ribs, while Jessica called not just the police, but also a domestic violence advocate. She knew. Within hours, my hospital room transformed into a kind of command center for my escape. Karen, the advocate, arrived with a gentle smile and eyes that had seen too many stories like mine. "First things first," she said, pulling up a chair. "We need to get a protection order in place for you and the twins." My heart clenched at the mention of my children. They were safe with my parents, but for how long? "David will fight for custody," I whispered. "The thought terrifies me." Karen nodded, understanding. "That's why we document everything: the hospital assault, the financial abuse, the gambling. All of it. Your friend Jessica's video is already powerful evidence." The police took my statement, their faces grim as I detailed not just the hospital attack, but years of emotional and financial abuse. One officer, a woman named Detective Torres, stayed behind after her partner left. "My sister went through something similar," she shared quietly. "She made it out. And you will too." My parents brought in a lawyer, Rachel, who specialized in domestic violence cases. She spread papers across my adjustable hospital table, explaining each step. "We're filing for emergency custody," she said, her voice confident. "With the documented assault in Jessica's video, we have a strong case." The next few days were a whirlwind of paperwork, police reports, and careful planning. My sister Amanda flew in to help our parents with the twins, and my coworkers set up a rotation to make sure someone was always by my side at the hospital. David tried calling me repeatedly, leaving a mix of threats and tearful apologies, but I remained firm in my resolve. "You don't have to listen to those messages," Karen advised as she helped me gather everything I needed for my safety. "We're keeping every single one for evidence." She worked with me to set up a safety plan for when I'd finally leave the hospital. New phones, new bank accounts, new emergency contacts. Each small action felt like a step toward reclaiming my life. The hardest part came during the visits with Lily and Owen. "Daddy did a bad thing," I explained gently, trying to make it simple for their young minds. "So for now, we're going to stay with Grandma and Grandpa." Their faces were full of confusion, but to my surprise, they seemed to understand more than I expected. "Is that why you're sad sometimes, Mommy?" Lily asked quietly. "Because of Daddy's bad things?" The courthouse felt overwhelming on the day of our hearing. I was still in a wheelchair, my pelvis not fully healed, but I sat up as straight as I could manage. Jessica and my parents surrounded me like a protective shield, while David sat across the aisle, his lawyer beside him, attempting to look remorseful. "Your Honor," Rachel, my lawyer, began, her voice steady and unwavering. What happened in that hospital room was the culmination of years of abuse. She laid everything out: the gaslighting, the gambling addiction, the hidden debts, the forged mortgage documents, and finally, the assault. Jessica's video played on the courtroom screens. The footage was shaky, but it was crystal clear: David's rage, his raised fist, and my helpless position in the hospital bed. David's lawyer tried to downplay the situation, claiming it was a one-time incident caused by stress from a concerned husband, but the evidence was irrefutable. The bank statements showed his gambling, hospital staff testified about the assault, and Detective Torres presented the threatening voicemails David had left. "It's Mr. Mitchell," the judge's voice was sharp. "Your actions show a pattern of calculated abuse." She granted me full custody of the twins, ordered David to attend gambling addiction treatment, and mandated supervised visitation. The protection order was set for 3 years. Then came the financial judgments. David was ordered not only to pay child support, but also restitution for the hospital bills and the money he'd drained from our accounts. His partial ownership in his tech consulting firm would need to be liquidated. As we left the courthouse, I felt a surprising sense of lightness. David was being led away by his lawyer, shoulders slumped in defeat. "You did it!" Jessica squeezed my hand. But I knew this wasn't just the end. It was a new beginning. "Mom," I said to my mother, who was pushing my wheelchair, "I think I'm ready to look at those apartment listings you mentioned." For the first time in months, I felt like I could finally breathe again. Recovery wasn't a straight line, but each day brought its own victories. The twins and I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment near their school. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours, safe, peaceful, and free from fear. Lily and Owen helped decorate their shared room, covering the walls with their colorful artwork. During my physical therapy sessions, I began recording video diaries on my phone. At first, they were just small, personal clips, my thoughts, my struggles, and my small victories. One day, Jessica suggested, "Why don't you share these online? Your story could help others. Show them there's life after abuse." So, I started a YouTube channel called Surviving to Thriving with Emily. Posting that first video was terrifying, but the response was overwhelming. Comments flooded in from other survivors, sharing their own stories and asking for advice. Each video I posted reached more people than the last. As my channel grew, so did our new life. I returned to work part-time, then full-time, eventually earning a promotion to senior HR director. The twins started smiling more, laughing more. Even their therapist noticed the change. "They feel secure now," she told me one day. "That's all children need." Through all the trials, I had found strength, not just for myself, but for my children. Together, we were healing, and every day was a reminder that we were moving forward. What do you do when you finally find the strength to walk away, only to realize you're walking toward a future you never imagined possible? Emily's story is one of heartbreak, survival, and an unshakable will to protect her children. After years of abuse, gaslighting, and financial manipulation by her husband David, she was left battered and broken, but never beaten. The road to recovery wasn't easy, but with the help of those who truly cared for her, Emily found the courage to stand up for herself and her twins. The pivotal moment came in the hospital room when David's rage exploded once more. But this time, Emily wasn't the same woman who had been silent for years. With the support of her friends and family, she gathered the strength to fight back. The evidence was irrefutable, and in court, David was forced to face the consequences of his actions. Emily walked away with full custody of the twins, a protection order, and the financial restitution she needed to rebuild. But the journey didn't end there. Emily didn't just survive, she thrived. Moving into a new apartment, she started fresh, creating a safe and peaceful life for herself and her children. It wasn't easy, but with each passing day, she regained control. The twins flourished, their laughter filling the air once again, and Emily found her voice through the YouTube channel she started to help other survivors. What do you think? How would you find the strength to reclaim your life after everything? Share your thoughts and experiences below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep following Emily's journey of healing and empowerment.
The invitation to dinner should have been my first warning. My mother never invites me anywhere unless she wants something. I'm June, and I built my magazine, Truth and Style, from nothing but determination and maxed out credit cards. That's probably why walking into Le Petit Bistrot that evening felt like a betrayal of everything I'd worked for. The maitre d' led me past tables of Manhattan's elite to a private corner where my mother sat, perfectly coiffed as always, next to a face I hadn't seen in 2 years. My ex-husband, Brent. My stomach dropped. "What is this?" "Darling, sit down," my mother, Lucille, purred. "We have wonderful news." I remained standing, my hands gripping the back of the empty chair. "Brent, what are you doing here?" He flashed that smile that once made my knees weak. Now it just made me nauseous. "Please, June, let's be adults about this." "Adults? Like when you emptied our joint account before serving me divorce papers?" "June!" My mother's voice carried that familiar sharp edge. "You're making a scene. Sit." I sat, but only because the waiters were starting to stare. A glass of wine appeared before me. They'd already ordered my favorite. Of course they had. "We wanted you to be the first to know," my mother began, reaching for Brent's hand. The diamond on her finger caught the light, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. "Brent and I are engaged." The wine glass froze halfway to my lips. "You're joking!" "Love knows no bounds," Brent said, squeezing my mother's hand. "Love knows no bounds," I repeated, my voice rising. "She's my mother." "Age is just a number," my mother said, batting her eyelashes at Brent. "We've found something special." "Something special?" I laughed, but it came out more like a bark. "You've found something all right. What is it this time, Brent? Her money? Her connections?" "Actually," he leaned forward, all business now, "we wanted to discuss your magazine." And there it was. The real reason for this ambush. "We'd love for Truth and Style to feature our engagement announcement," my mother said. "First exclusive rights. It would be wonderful publicity for everyone involved." I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "You want me to announce in my magazine that my ex-husband is marrying my mother." "Think about it professionally," Brent urged. "Your readership would skyrocket. Everyone loves a good story." "A good story?" I grabbed my purse. "How's this for a story? Respected magazine editor maintains her dignity by telling her gold-digging ex-husband and narcissistic mother to go to hell." "June Parker!" My mother's face flushed red. "You sit back down this instant." "Or what, Mom? You'll ground me? Date my high school boyfriends?" A few heads turned our way. Brent stood, trying to play peacemaker. "Let's all calm down." "Don't you dare tell me to calm down," I hissed. "You divorced me, disappeared for 2 years, and now you're engaged to my mother? And you want me to publicize it?" "Darling," my mother reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "We're family. This could be good for all of us." "Family?" I laughed again, and this time it sounded slightly hysterical. "Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't betray each other for publicity." "You're being dramatic," Brent said. "This is a business opportunity. My magazine reports truth, Brent. Remember that word? And the truth is, you two deserve each other." I turned to leave, but my mother's words stopped me cold. "If you walk away now, you'll regret it. We can make things very difficult for you." I looked back at them. My mother with her perfectly arranged hair, Brent with his calculated smile. They thought they had me cornered. They thought wrong. "You know what? Go ahead. Try to make things difficult. But remember, I own a magazine. I have a platform. And unlike you two, I'm not afraid of the truth." As I walked out of Le Petit Bistrot, my phone buzzed. It was Emma, my best friend and head of marketing. "How bad was it?" she asked. "Remember when I said my life couldn't get any more complicated? That bad?" "Worse." I flagged down a taxi. "Meet me at the office. We need to talk strategy." Strategy for what? I watched my mother and Brent through the restaurant window, already huddled together, probably plotting their next move. For war. They're doing what? Emma nearly spilled her coffee across my desk. It was midnight at the Truth and Style offices, and we'd been strategizing for hours. Getting married, I repeated, rubbing my temples. And they want me to announce it in the magazine like it's some kind of fairy tale romance. That's... Emma searched for words. That's actually insane. My phone buzzed again. Another message from my mother. I ignored it, just like the previous 20. June? My assistant poked her head in. Edith from Style Weekly is here to see you. I straightened in my chair. Edith, at this hour? Emma's eyes narrowed. She's probably already heard. Edith swept into my office like she owned it, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. June, darling, I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by. At midnight? I asked. She waved her hand dismissively. Oh, you know how it is in publishing. We never sleep. She perched herself on the edge of my desk. I heard the most fascinating rumor about your mother and your ex-husband. Whatever you're planning to publish, Edith, don't. But darling, it's such a juicy story. The betrayal, the scandal. Our readers would eat it up. I stood up, matching her height. My personal life isn't for sale. Everything's for sale in this business, she smirked. If you won't give me the story, I'll find it elsewhere. Your mother seemed quite eager to talk when I called her earlier. Emma stepped forward. That's enough, Edith. Oh, look who it is. The loyal sidekick. Edith's smile turned predatory. Tell me, Emma, how does it feel watching your best friend's life implode? Get out, I said quietly. You know what's coming, June. Better to control the narrative than become its victim. After Edith left, Emma locked the door behind her. She's right about one thing. We need to control this narrative. I collapsed back into my chair. How? My mother and Brent are probably selling their story to every tabloid in the city right now. Then we beat them at their own game. Emma pulled up a chair. What if we run a series on modern relationships? Focus on trust, betrayal, family dynamics. We don't mention your situation directly, but we own the conversation. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Lewis, our investigative reporter. June, you need to see this. Now. Lewis burst into the office moments later, laptop in hand. Remember that tip we got last week about corporate fraud at Morris Industries? My mother's company. What about it? Look at these financial records. He turned the screen toward me. There's a pattern of suspicious transactions dating back 2 years, right around the time Brent disappeared. Emma leaned in. Are you saying... Brent's been embezzling from your mother's company, Lewis finished. But here's the kicker. These transactions? They're too sophisticated for one person. Someone on the inside had to help him. I felt the blood drain from my face. My mother. We need to verify everything, Lewis said. But if this is true... We could destroy them, Emma whispered. I stared at the numbers on the screen, remembering my mother's threat at dinner. We can make things very difficult for you. No, I said finally. We do this right. Get me concrete evidence, interview sources, follow every lead. June. Emma touched my arm. They're not showing you any mercy. Why should you? Because I built this magazine on truth, not revenge. I stood up, new determination flowing through me. If we're going to expose them, we do it with facts, not speculation. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Your mother and Brent aren't what they seem. Meet me tomorrow at Central Park, 7 a.m. Come alone. Emma read the message over my shoulder. It could be a trap, or it could be exactly what we need. I grabbed my coat. Get Lewis to dig deeper into those financial records. I need to know everything about my mother's company for the past 2 years. What are you going to do? I headed for the door, my mind already racing with possibilities. I'm going to find out just how deep this betrayal goes. June, Emma called after me. Be careful. People who have everything to lose are dangerous. I thought about my mother's diamond ring. Brent's calculated smile, and Edith's threats. So am I. As I left the office, another text came through, this time from my mother. Last chance to do this the easy way, darling. Don't make me remind you where you came from. I typed back 4 words. Bring it on, Mom. Central Park at dawn was eerily quiet. I sat on a bench near Bethesda Fountain, watching joggers pass by and wondering if I'd made a mistake coming here. Ms. Parker? A woman in her 50s approached, clutching a leather portfolio. I'm Margaret. I was your mother's executive assistant for 15 years. Was? Until last month, when I discovered something I wasn't supposed to see. She sat beside me, hands trembling slightly. Your mother fired me without severance, threatened to blacklist me if I talked. That sounds like her. Margaret pulled documents from her portfolio. 2 years ago, your mother started having private meetings with Brent. I thought nothing of it at first. He was her son-in-law after all. Ex-son-in-law, I corrected automatically. The meetings always happened after hours. They'd lock themselves in her office for hours. She handed me a stack of papers. Then I started noticing discrepancies in the accounts. I flipped through the documents, bank statements, emails, meeting minutes. These are internal company records. I made copies before they fired me. Look at the dates. My stomach lurched. The first transaction was dated 3 months before Brent served me divorce papers. My phone buzzed. Emma. June, you need to get back here, now. What's wrong? Just hurry. I thanked Margaret, took her contact information, and rushed to the office. Emma was waiting with Louis, both looking grim. What happened? Louis pointed to his computer screen. Remember those transactions we found? They're connected to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. But here's the twist. They're not just stealing from your mother's company. What do you mean? They're running a Ponzi scheme, Emma said, using the company to attract investors, promising huge returns, then pocketing the money. That's why Brent's marrying her, Louis added. They need to keep up appearances, make everything look legitimate. I sank into a chair. How many people have they scammed? Dozens, maybe hundreds. Louis pulled up more documents. And some of these investors? There are advertisers. June? My assistant appeared at the door. Your mother's here. Before I could respond, Lucille swept into the office, Brent right behind her. Darling, we need to talk. I'm busy. Too busy for your mother? She noticed the documents on Louis's screen. What's all this? Research for an article, I said smoothly. About financial fraud. Brent's smile flickered. Sounds fascinating, but we're here about the engagement announcement. Have you reconsidered? Actually, I have something to ask you both. I picked up Margaret's documents. How long were you planning this? Before or after the divorce? Planning what? My mother's voice was sharp. The scheme, the fraud, the marriage. I stood up. Was any of it real, or was it all just business? Brent stepped forward. Be careful, June. You're making serious accusations. Am I? Because I have proof. Bank statements, witness testimonies, offshore accounts. You're bluffing, my mother snapped. Try me. I met her gaze. How do you think your investors would react if they knew where their money really went? You wouldn't dare, she hissed. I'm your mother. And I'm a journalist. Truth matters more than blood. Brent grabbed my arm. Think about what you're doing. We can make this worth your while. Emma moved between us. Take your hands off her. This isn't over, my mother warned, backing toward the door. You print one word about this, and I'll bury your magazine. After they left, Emma turned to me. You okay? No. I rubbed my arm where Brent had grabbed me. But I will be. June, Emma hesitated. There's something else you should know about Brent. What? Remember when I took that sabbatical last year? She swallowed hard. I was helping the FBI investigate a series of investment frauds. Brent was involved. He tried to recruit me, thinking I'd turn on you. The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. Why didn't you tell me? The investigation was ongoing. I couldn't risk compromising it. She met my eyes. But now, we have everything we need to take them down. I looked at the evidence spread across my desk, proof of years of manipulation and betrayal. Print it. All of it? Every last word. I picked up my phone to call Margaret. It's time people knew the truth about Lucille and Brent. As I dialed, another text came through from my mother. "You're making a mistake, darling. Blood is thicker than ink." I typed back, "So is justice." The cease and desist letter arrived at 8 a.m., delivered by a stern-faced lawyer in an expensive suit. "Your mother is prepared to sue for defamation," he stated, placing the document on my desk. "She's willing to settle out of court if you drop the story." I didn't even open the envelope. "Tell her I'll see her in court." After he left, Emma rushed in. "Their lawyers are calling our advertisers, threatening them if they don't pull their contracts. How many have we lost?" "3 so far." She checked her tablet. "But Lewis found something. Show her." Lewis appeared with a stack of printouts. "Remember how we thought the fraud started 2 years ago? It goes back further, way further." He spread photos across my desk. My wedding day 5 years ago. In one image, my mother was speaking with Brent, champagne in hand. "Look at the date," Lewis pointed. 3 days after this, your mother opened the first offshore account. She was planning this before you even got married." The room spun. I gripped the edge of my desk, remembering that day. How happy I'd been. How proud my mother had seemed. "June?" Emma touched my shoulder. "There's more." My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. "Hello? Ms. Parker? This is Detective Roberts. We need to talk about your mother and Mr. Morris." 20 minutes later, I sat in a conference room at the police station, staring at surveillance photos. "We've been building a case against them for months," Detective Roberts explained. "But they're careful. We need someone on the inside." "And you want that someone to be me?" "You're our best shot at exposing this operation." My phone buzzed with a text from Brent. "Let's talk, just us, for old time's sake." "They're getting desperate," Emma whispered. She'd insisted on coming with me. "This could be our chance." I showed the detective Brent's message. "What do you need me to do?" "Meet with him, wear a wire, get him talking about the scheme." Back at the office, Lewis had more news. "I found a connection between your mother's accounts and a series of failed businesses. She's been running this scam for decades." How did I not see it? I collapsed into my chair. "My own mother." "Because she didn't want you to," Emma said firmly. "She used your love against you." My assistant knocked. "June, your mother's on line 1. She says it's urgent." I put the call on speaker. "What do you want?" "Darling, this has gone far enough." Her voice was honey-sweet. "Come to dinner tonight. We can work this out as a family." "Family?" I laughed. "Was it family when you planned to scam me before I even said I'd do?" A pause. "I don't know what you think you found." "I found everything, Mom. The accounts, the failed businesses, the victims, all of it." "Then you know what we're capable of." Her voice hardened. "Drop the story or watch your precious magazine burn." "You taught me something important, Mom." "About power." I leaned forward. "The truth is the greatest power of all." "You ungrateful little—" I hung up. Emma squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "No." I stood up, grabbing my coat. "But I will be. Tell Detective Roberts I'll wear the wire. Set up the meeting with Brent." "June, wait." Lewis called from his desk. "Look at this." He pulled up an email chain between my mother and Brent, dated just before our divorce. "Make sure she signs everything over," my mother had written. "Once the accounts are empty, serve the papers." "Don't worry," Brent replied. "She trusts me completely." My hands shook as I read their casual discussion of destroying my life. "Print it," I told Lewis. "Print it all." "The lawyers," he started. "Can't stop the truth." I checked my phone. Another text from Brent, suggesting a meeting place. "Tell Detective Roberts I'll meet Brent tomorrow at noon." Emma grabbed her purse. "I'm coming with you." "No." I turned to her. "I need you here, running the magazine. If something goes wrong—" Nothing will go wrong, she insisted. We've got them cornered. My phone buzzed one final time. My mother again. You're just like me, darling. Willing to destroy family for success. I typed back. No, Mom. I'm nothing like you. I'm better. Tomorrow, I would face Brent wearing a wire. Tomorrow, I would help bring down their empire of lies. But tonight, I had a magazine to run and a truth to tell. Let's get to work, I told my team. We have a story to write. The wire itched against my skin as I walked into the coffee shop. Brent was already there, looking perfectly relaxed in his tailored suit. June. He stood to kiss my cheek. I stepped back. Still angry, I see. Can you blame me? Actually, yes. He stirred his coffee. You're being unreasonable. This could benefit all of us. Detective Robert's voice crackled in my earpiece. Keep him talking about the business. Like it benefited your other investors? I asked, sitting down. His smile tightened. I don't know what you think you know. My phone buzzed. Emma had sent a screenshot of Brent's latest Twitter post. Sad to see Truth and Style magazine resorting to tabloid journalism. Family matters should stay private. Nice tweet, I said, showing him my phone. Trying to discredit me already? It's just business, June. Nothing personal. Was it business when you emptied our accounts? He leaned forward. Your mother and I have powerful friends. One word from us, and your advertisers will run. Your distributors will drop you. Your magazine will be finished. Is that what happened to your other victims? You threatened them into silence? His eyes narrowed. Careful, June. My phone lit up again. Lewis this time. Twitter's exploding. Dozens of people coming forward with stories about Brent and Lucille's scams. I turned my phone so Brent could see the growing thread of accusations. Looks like your victims are done being silent, I said. He grabbed my wrist. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Let go of me. We tried to be nice. His grip tightened. We offered you a chance to profit from this, but you had to play hero. Mr. Morris? Detective Robert's voice cut through the cafe. Remove your hand from Ms. Parker. Brent's face went pale as officers approached our table. You wore a wire? He released my wrist. You actually wore a wire? Nothing personal. I echoed his words. Just business. My phone exploded with notifications. Emma was calling. June, get back here now, she said when I answered. Your mother just showed up with her entire legal team. I arrived at the office to find my mother holding court in the conference room, surrounded by expensive suits. There's my daughter, she announced. The one trying to destroy her own family. Family, I laughed. Is that what you call stealing from your daughter's husband before they're even married? Everything I did for us. She stood, perfectly composed. You were always so naive. Someone had to protect our interests. Our interests? You stole from me. I made you stronger. She smiled that familiar cold smile. And now look at you, finally playing the game properly. This isn't a game, Mom. These are people's lives. People are pawns, darling. I taught you that. No, I stepped closer. You taught me what not to be. Her smile faltered. Your magazine won't survive this fight. Maybe not. I pulled out my phone, showing her the trending Twitter thread. But neither will you. Social media? She scoffed. Against my lawyers? Against the truth. I nodded to Emma, who started the projector. On the screen, Margaret appeared, holding up documents. Then more faces. Dozens of former employees, investors, all telling their stories of fraud and betrayal. What is this? My mother demanded. Your legacy, I said. Every victim, every scheme, every lie, all going live on our website in an hour. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. She grabbed her phone, furiously dialing. Brent, where are you? We need to... Her face went slack. What do you mean, arrested? I showed her the police photo of Brent in handcuffs. Like I said, Mom, the truth always comes out. I'll destroy you, she hissed. No. Emma stepped forward. You won't. Because while you were here threatening us, our story went viral. Every major news outlet is picking it up. My mother's lawyers exchanged nervous glances. It's over, Mom. I opened the conference room door. And this time, you can't buy your way out. As security escorted them out, my phone buzzed one last time. Detective Roberts. We have enough to arrest Lucille too. Officers are on their way. I watched through my office window as police cars pulled up outside. Are you okay? Emma asked softly. No, I admitted, but I will be. June? Lewis called from his desk. You might want to see this. On his screen, our story's view count was skyrocketing. Below it, thousands of comments poured in, all saying the same thing. Thank you for telling the truth. The numbers are insane, Emma announced, bursting into my office. 2 million views in 24 hours. Every major network wants an interview. I barely heard her, watching the live coverage of my mother's arrest on the office TV. She looked smaller somehow, being led away in handcuffs, her perfect makeup smeared. June? Emma waved her hand in front of my face. CNN is on line 1. Tell them no comment. I turned off the TV. We let the story speak for itself. My phone lit up. Edith from Style Weekly. I answered on speaker. Darling, I must say I'm impressed, she purred. Taking down your own mother? That's deliciously cold. What do you want, Edith? To offer you a deal. Merge our magazines. Together, we'd be unstoppable. Emma shook her head violently. Thanks, but no thanks, I said. Truth and Style stays independent. Don't be foolish. Your mother's lawyers will bury you in lawsuits. You'll need backing. Actually, Lewis appeared with a stack of papers. We won't. Look what just came in. He spread documents across my desk. Statements from investors, former employees, even other journalists, all offering to testify against my mother and Brent. Is that all? Edith asked, hearing the rustling papers. That's all, I said, hanging up. June! My assistant rushed in. You need to see this. She pulled up a video on her tablet. It was Brent, speaking from jail. His designer suit replaced by orange jumpsuit. June Parker ruined my life, he was saying. She's just like her mother, manipulative, ruthless. Turn it off, I said. No, wait, Emma pointed. Look at the comments. Below the video, thousands of responses flooded in. We see through your lies. Truth and Style exposed the real you. June Parker is a hero. My phone buzzed. Detective Roberts again. Ms. Parker, your mother's requesting to see you. Tell her no. She says she has information about other victims, people we don't know about yet. I looked at Emma, who nodded. Go. We'll handle things here. The police station was chaos. Reporters camped outside, cameras flashing as I walked in. My mother sat in an interrogation room, her designer outfit wrinkled, her makeup faded. Darling, she attempted her usual smile. You look tired. What do you want? To make a deal. She leaned forward. I know things, June. Things that could help your magazine grow even bigger. More victims. More stories. More scandals. Things that would make your little exposé look like a gossip column. Detective Roberts watched through the two-way mirror as I sat down. And what do you want in return? Your support at my hearing. Tell them I cooperated, that I showed remorse. I studied her face, the face that had lied to me my entire life. Did you ever love me, or was I just another investment? For the first time, her mask cracked. Everything I did was for yourself, I finished. Always for yourself. I made you strong. No. I stood up. I made myself strong, despite you, not because of you. Back at the office, Emma was waiting with news. 3 major publishers called. They want to turn the story into a book. No, I said, sitting at my desk. June, we stick to what we do best, telling the truth. Lewis rushed in. You need to see this. Your mother's company records just went public. There are hundreds of victims, going back decades. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Thank you for exposing them. They took everything from me. Now I can finally fight back. More messages poured in. Victims finding their voice, their courage. What do we do? Emma asked. I looked at my team. Emma, who'd stood by me through everything. Lewis, who'd dug until he found the truth. My assistant, who'd worked endless hours to help expose the fraud. We do our job, I said. We tell their stories. All of them. My phone buzzed one last time. Detective Roberts. Your mother's talking. Named names. This goes deeper than we thought. You've started something big. I thought about my mother in her prison jumpsuit, Brent's desperate video, all their carefully constructed lies crumbling. Emma, I called. Get the team together. We have work to do. What's the headline? She asked. I looked at the growing list of victims reaching out for help, for justice, for their voices to be heard. The headline is Truth Matters. I stood up. And we're just getting started. The courthouse steps were packed with reporters as my mother and Brent arrived for their preliminary hearing. I watched from across the street as they climbed the steps, no longer the confident power couple they'd once been. Ready for this? Emma stood beside me, clutching a folder of evidence. As I'll ever be. Inside, the courtroom hummed with tension. My mother's lawyers had arranged a press conference before the hearing, one last attempt to control the narrative. My client, her lead attorney announced, has been the victim of a vindictive campaign by her own daughter. Actually, I stepped forward, Emma right behind me. I have something to say. The room erupted in camera flashes. My mother's face tightened. June, Brent warned, think carefully about what you're doing. Oh, I have. I nodded to Emma, who started distributing documents to the press. These are statements from 32 new victims who've come forward, people whose lives you destroyed. Lies, my mother hissed. Really? I turned to the crowd. Margaret? My mother's former assistant stood up, then another person and another. Soon, half the courtroom was standing, all victims, all with stories to tell. What is this? Brent's lawyer demanded. Justice, I said simply. My mother grabbed the microphone. These people are opportunists. They're... Sarah Thompson, a woman called out. You stole my retirement fund. David Miller, you bankrupted my family business. Rachel Foster, my children lost their college funds because of you. Name after name, story after story. My mother's composed facade cracked as the truth echoed through the courtroom. Enough! She screamed. This is all June's fault. She's trying to destroy me because she's jealous, because she could never measure up. Actually, Detective Roberts stepped forward. We have evidence that proves otherwise. He played an audio recording, my mother's voice, clear and cold. Of course I knew the investments were fake. Those people were stupid enough to trust us. They deserved to lose everything. The recording continued, detailing years of deliberate fraud. Brent's face went pale. You recorded our private conversations? He sputtered. No, my mother whispered. The hotel room. They bugged the hotel room. Where you planned your next scam, Detective Roberts confirmed. Right after Ms. Parker wore the wire. Brent lunged toward me. You set us up! Security grabbed him as cameras flashed. My mother stood frozen, watching her carefully constructed world collapse. Lucille, her lawyer urged, don't say another word. But she was beyond hearing. I built an empire, she shrieked. I took their worthless money and made something magnificent, and my own daughter betrayed me for what? Some pathetic notion of justice? No, Mom. I met her eyes. For the truth, the thing you never understood. She lunged for the evidence folder Emma was holding. In the chaos, papers scattered across the floor. Bank statements, witness testimonies, proof of decades of fraud. Order! The judge's gavel cracked through the chaos. Remove the defendants. As security led them away, my mother turned back. I made you who you are. No, I called after her. You showed me who I never wanted to be. Outside, reporters swarmed us. Ms. Parker, how does it feel to take down your own mother? Did you know about the fraud during your marriage? Will Truth and Style continue covering the story? Emma pushed through the crowd. Ms. Parker's magazine will continue doing what it's always done, telling the truth. My phone buzzed. Lewis, you need to see this. Every major network is running the story. The victims are speaking out everywhere. Another text followed from Detective Roberts. More arrests coming. Your mother's empire is falling. You did good, kid. I watched as police cars pulled away, carrying my mother and Brent to jail. Emma squeezed my hand. You okay? Look. I pointed to the courthouse steps, where victims were hugging each other, sharing stories, finding strength in numbers. Ms. Parker? A young reporter approached. What happens now? I thought about all the stories still untold, all the truths still hidden. Now? I smiled. Now we keep doing our job. We keep telling the truth. Even when it hurts? She asked. Especially then. I turned to Emma. Let's get back to work. We have a magazine to run. As we left, I heard my mother's words echoing from a news broadcast. I built an empire. She had built an empire, one of lies, manipulation, and greed. But watching it crumble, I felt only relief. Because sometimes, destruction is just another word for justice. And justice, like truth, was worth fighting for. The envelope arrived on my desk without warning. Prison stationery, my mother's elegant handwriting. Emma watched as I turned it over in my hands. You don't have to read it, she said. Yes, I do. Inside was a single page. Dearest June, the truth, since you're so fond of it. I'm proud of you. Not for destroying what I built, for building something stronger. Your magazine's latest issue is everywhere in here. The women in my block pass it around like contraband. They especially loved the piece about financial independence. Ironic, isn't it? Brent took a plea deal yesterday. He's testifying against everyone. The empire is truly fallen. You won. I won't ask for forgiveness. We both know better. But I will tell you this. Watching you fight back, watching you stand your ground, it was like looking in a mirror. Only you reflected something better. The investigators found more accounts. I've instructed my lawyers to return everything to the victims. It won't fix what I broke, but perhaps it's a start. Your mother, Lucille. June? Emma's voice pulled me back. The interview's here. Sarah Thompson walked in, our first victim to go public, now leading a support group for others. Thank you for featuring our story, she said, sitting down. More people come forward every day. That's why we're here. I gestured to the magazine cover on my desk. Rising from fraud, survivors share their stories. It's not just about the money anymore, Sarah said. It's about healing, about finding our voices. My phone buzzed. Detective Roberts. Thought you'd want to know. Brent's testimony led to 12 more arrests. Financial Crimes Task Force is calling it the Truth and Style Effect. Ms. Parker? My assistant poked her head in. The Journalism Awards Committee is on line 1. I waved her off. Take a message. Still avoiding the spotlight? Emma teased. The story was never about me. Speaking of stories, Lewis rushed in, laptop open. Remember those offshore accounts your mother mentioned? They're being liquidated. Money's flowing back to the victims. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She really did it? She did. I handed her my mother's letter. People can surprise you. June, Emma called from her desk. You need to see this. On her screen, a video was trending. Victims gathering outside the courthouse, holding copies of Truth and Style. We're not victims anymore, one woman declared. We're survivors, and we're done being silent. My phone lit up. Edith from Style Weekly. Darling, I admit defeat. Your circulation numbers are extraordinary. The offer to merge still stands. I typed back. Still not interested. Truth isn't for sale. Ms. Parker? A young intern appeared. The new issue's ready for final approval. The cover showed a mosaic of faces, all survivors, all standing tall. The headline read, Breaking the Silence, a Community Rises. Perfect, I said. Run it. Emma studied my face. You okay? Better than okay. I picked up my mother's letter. She thought she was building an empire of money. Instead, she taught me to build something stronger. Truth, Emma smiled. Community, I corrected. Look. Through my office window, the magazine's main floor buzzed with energy. Survivors turned advocates worked alongside journalists, sharing stories, building connections. What started as an exposé had become a movement. My phone chimed one last time, a text from Margaret, my mother's former assistant. You did it, June. You turned their weapon into our shield. I thought about my mother in prison, reading our magazine, about Brent, facing the consequences of his choices, about all the lives they'd tried to break. Emma, I called, get the team together. New story? Always. I smiled. The truth never stops. As my team gathered, I looked at them. Emma, who never wavered. Lewis, who dug until he found answers. Sarah, who turned pain into purpose. And all the others who chose truth over silence. What's next, boss? Lewis asked. I held up the latest issue. We keep building. We keep telling stories. We keep turning victims into survivors. And your mother's letter? Emma asked softly. I folded it carefully, tucked it into my desk. Some truths you keep close, not because they hurt, but because they remind you how far you've come. Let's get to work, I said. We have more stories to tell. Outside my office, phones rang, keyboards clicked, and voices rose. The sound of truth being born. Not in whispers or threats, but in the clear, strong voices of people who'd found their power. My mother had built an empire of lies. I'd built something better, a home for truth. And this time, the foundation would hold.
The letter trembled in my hands as I read it for the fourth time, still unable to process the audacity of what I was seeing. My in-laws were actually trying to take my children away from me. 3 months after burying my husband, this was how they chose to honor his memory. My name is Willow, and until recently, I thought I knew what it meant to face life's challenges. But nothing could have prepared me for this. Mom, is everything okay? Trinity's voice pulled me from my shock. My 12-year-old daughter stood in the doorway of our kitchen, her brother Stephen peeking around her shoulder. Both of them wore the same worried expression I'd seen too often since their father's death. I forced a smile, quickly folding the letter and tucking it into my pocket. Everything's fine, sweetheart. How about some breakfast? You don't look fine, Stephen said, climbing onto one of our kitchen stools. At 10, he was already too perceptive for his own good, just like his father. The doorbell rang before I could respond. Through the glass, I saw Victoria's perfectly coiffed silver hair and Kent's tall frame. My in-laws had impeccable timing, as always. Kids, go upstairs and finish getting ready for school, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. But we haven't eaten, Stephen started. Now please. They must have heard something in my tone because they went without further argument. I waited until they were upstairs before opening the door. Willow, dear, Victoria said, her smile not reaching her eyes. We need to talk. About this? I pulled out the letter. A custody suit? Really? Kent cleared his throat. It's for the best. The children need stability. Stability? My voice cracked. Their father died 3 months ago, and you think tearing them away from their mother will give them stability? Victoria pushed past me into the house. Look at this place, Willow. Dishes in the sink, laundry visible from the living room. Jermaine would be devastated to see his children living like this. My phone buzzed. A text from June. On my way. Don't let them in. Too late for that warning. I'm a single mother working full-time while grieving my husband, I said, fighting to keep my voice level. Some dishes in the sink don't make me an unfit mother. No, Kent agreed, but your history of depression does. I froze. What? We have records of your therapy sessions from college, Victoria said, examining her manicured nails. Post-traumatic stress disorder after that car accident. Anxiety, depression, not exactly stable parent material. The room spun slightly. Those records were private. How did they get out? June's voice cut through my panic. She stood in the doorway, her usually friendly face hard with anger. Or I'm calling the police. We're concerned grandparents visiting our grandchildren, Victoria said smoothly. You're trespassing, June countered, already dialing. And harassment is a crime in this state. Kent grabbed Victoria's arm. We'll go. But this isn't over, Willow. You'll be hearing from our lawyers. After they left, June hugged me tight as I finally let the tears fall. They're trying to use my therapy against me, I whispered. Who does that? Monsters, June said firmly. But we're not letting them win. I know a lawyer, Felicity Wong. She specializes in family law, and she's absolutely brilliant. We're calling her right now. Upstairs, I heard movement. The kids getting ready for school. Their world still somewhat normal despite everything crumbling around them. I thought of Jermaine, of his last words to me in the hospital. Take care of our babies, Will. Don't let anyone come between you and our kids. I wiped my eyes and straightened my shoulders. Make the call. June squeezed my hand as she dialed, and I heard Trinity calling from upstairs about missing homework. Normal life wasn't going to pause for this battle. I had to find a way to fight while keeping their world stable. Felicity? Hi, this is June Underwood. I have a friend who needs your help urgently. Yes, it's a custody case, but there's more to it. The grandparents are trying to use private medical records. As June explained the situation, I went to the kitchen to make breakfast. The kids would need to eat before school, dishes in the sink or not. Victoria and Kent might have money and connections, but they had forgotten one crucial thing. I was their mother, and I would fight with everything I had to protect my children. They wanted a war? Fine. But they were about to learn that underestimating me was their first mistake. These photos have been doctored, Felicity said, spreading the evidence photos across her desk. Look at the timestamps. They don't match the metadata. I leaned forward, studying the images that Victoria and Kent had submitted to the court. They showed my house in complete disarray, with empty wine bottles scattered across the coffee table and what appeared to be drug paraphernalia in the background. But I've never, I started. I know, Felicity interrupted, her dark eyes sharp. That's exactly why these caught my attention. The lighting's wrong, the shadows don't match, and whoever did this forgot that digital images leave traces. June, who had been quietly examining the photos, suddenly grabbed one. Wait a minute. This mess they photographed. That's from Victoria's own house. Look at the curtains in the reflection. Those are her hideous designer drapes that she wouldn't shut up about at last year's Christmas party. Felicity's eyebrows shot up. Are you sure? Absolutely. I'd recognize that pattern anywhere. She paid some ridiculous amount for them and made sure everyone knew it. My phone buzzed. A text from Trinity. Grandma Victoria just picked Stephen up from school. Said you knew about it? My heart stopped. They took Stephen. What? June and Felicity said in unison. I showed them the text. They don't have permission to pick him up. His school knows this. Felicity was already dialing. This is attorney Felicity Wong. I need to speak to Principal Martinez immediately. Yes, I'll hold. June grabbed her car keys. I'll drive. We'll get him back. 20 minutes later, we pulled up to Victoria and Kent's sprawling mansion. My hands were shaking as I rang the doorbell, Felicity right beside me. Victoria opened the door, feigning surprise. Willow, we were just about to call you. Stephen wasn't feeling well. Save it, Felicity cut in. You violated custody agreements by removing a minor from school without parental consent. Return him now or we're calling the police. I'm his grandmother, Victoria snapped. I have rights. You have nothing, Felicity corrected. And this little stunt? It's going in my motion to the judge tomorrow morning. Stephen appeared behind Victoria, looking confused. Mom, what's going on? We're going home, honey, I said, holding out my hand. Come on. He started forward, but Kent appeared, placing a hand on his shoulder. Stephen, buddy, we thought you might want to stay here tonight. Your room is all set up. Remove your hand, Felicity said, her voice ice cold as she held up her phone. I'm recording this, and I've already texted the police. Your choice. Kent's face reddened, but he dropped his hand. Stephen ran to me, and I wrapped my arms around him. This isn't over, Victoria called as we walked away. We have more evidence. You mean like these doctored photos? Felicity held up her briefcase. I look forward to discussing them in court, along with the illegal access of private medical records and today's attempted kidnapping. In the car, Stephen was unusually quiet. Mom, he finally said, Grandma and Grandpa said you were sick, that you couldn't take care of us properly. My heart cracked. Honey, look at me. Are you hungry? He nodded. Are you clean? Dressed? Do you have what you need for school? Another nod. That's because I take care of you, every day. Yes, I went to therapy in college after a car accident that scared me. That doesn't make me sick. It made me stronger, smarter, and a better mom because I learned how to handle tough times. Like now? He asked softly. Exactly like now. Back at my office, Felicity spread out more documents. They've been planning this for months. Look at these bank transfers. They hired a private investigator right after Jermaine's funeral. But why? June asked. Why go to all this trouble? Felicity tapped her pen against a document. That's what's bothering me. This feels personal, very personal. Willow, did Jermaine ever mention any conflicts with his parents, especially his mother? I thought back, remembering late-night conversations with my husband. He once mentioned that Victoria never forgave him for something, but he wouldn't elaborate, said it was ancient history. Nothing's ancient history when it comes to family, Felicity said, and I think that's our key. June, can you dig into Victoria's past? Social media, newspaper archives, anything you can find? June nodded. I'm on it. Looking at the fabricated evidence spread across the desk, I felt a chill. They're not just trying to take my kids, are they? They're trying to destroy me completely. Yes, Felicity agreed, but they made one crucial mistake. What's that? She smiled grimly. They left a paper trail, and I'm very, very good at following trails. You need to see this. June burst into my kitchen, laptop in hand. It was nearly midnight, but neither of us had been sleeping much lately. I found something in an old society page from 25 years ago. She placed the laptop in front of me. The yellowed newspaper scan showed a younger Victoria standing beside a man who wasn't Kent. The headline read, "Local business mogul's daughter calls off high-profile wedding." Keep reading, June urged. My eyes scanned the article. Victoria Matthews, daughter of industrialist Robert Matthews, has canceled her engagement to James Richardson, citing irreconcilable differences. The merger between Matthews Industries and Richardson Corp. Is expected to proceed as planned. Now look at this. June pulled up another article, dated 3 months later. Matthews Industries files for bankruptcy following failed merger. The pieces started falling into place. She was supposed to marry for business, wasn't she? And then Jermaine came along, June said softly. Her only son, who was supposed to take over the family business and restore their fortune. Instead, he became a teacher and married me. I finished, a nobody from the wrong side of town. My phone rang. Felicity. Turn on the news, she said without preamble. Channel 7. The TV flickered to life, showing Kent standing outside the courthouse. We're simply concerned grandparents, he was saying. Our son's death revealed disturbing patterns in our daughter-in-law's behavior. We're acting in the best interests of our grandchildren. That's not the interesting part, Felicity said. Watch who's standing behind him. The camera panned slightly, showing a familiar face that made my blood run cold. Is that James Richardson? Felicity confirmed. Victoria's ex-fiancé. He's been funding their legal battle against you. But why, after all these years? Revenge, June said. Victoria lost him his merger. Now they're working together to take everything from you. A knock at the door made us all jump. Trinity appeared in her pajamas, looking worried. Mom, I found something in Dad's old study. She held out a sealed envelope, Jermaine's handwriting clear on the front. Open if anything happens to me. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter and a USB drive. Dear Will, I read aloud, if you're reading this, something's happened to me. There are things you need to know about my parents. They're not who they pretend to be. The drive contains proof of what they did to cover up the real reason Matthews Industries went bankrupt. Mom didn't just cancel a wedding. She and Dad orchestrated the company's collapse for the insurance payout. People lost everything, including their lives. I found out last year and confronted them. They swore they'd changed, but I don't trust them. Protect our children, Will. Don't let them inherit this legacy of lies. Love, Jay. Felicity's voice was tight with excitement. This changes everything. June, can you access that drive? June plugged it into her laptop, and we watched as decades-old documents filled the screen. Bank transfers, emails, and most damning of all, a video of Victoria and Kent discussing the scheme with James. They're all in it together, I whispered. They always were. Mom? Trinity's voice was small. Is that why Dad was so weird about us spending time with them? I pulled her close. Your dad was protecting you, sweetheart, just like I'm trying to do now. My phone buzzed with a text from Steven. Grandma's here again. She's talking to my teacher. That's it, Felicity snapped. I'm filing for an emergency restraining order first thing in the morning. June, get that video authenticated. I want it ready for court. What about the press? June asked. Kent's out there spinning his story. No, I said firmly. We do this right, through the courts. I won't let them say I tried to manipulate public opinion. Felicity nodded approvingly. Smart, but we need to move fast. They'll know something's up when we file the restraining order. Trinity hugged me tighter. Dad knew, didn't he? That's why he wrote the letter? Your dad was always the smartest person I knew, I said. He just wanted to protect his family. And now we'll protect each other, she said with a determination that brought tears to my eyes. June looked up from the laptop. These documents, they implicate James in at least 3 cases of corporate fraud. No wonder he's helping them. If this gets out, they all go down. Felicity gathered her things. Get some sleep, all of you. Tomorrow we start fighting back. And Willow, we're not just going to win custody. We're going to make sure they can never hurt another family again. As I tucked Trinity back into bed, I thought about Jermaine's letter. Even after death, he was still protecting us, still fighting for our family. We won't let you down, I whispered to his memory. I promise. They've been paying off teachers, Felicity announced, dropping a stack of bank statements on her desk. 3 of them, to be exact, all ready to testify about your unstable behavior at school events. I recognized one of the names. Ms. Peterson? But she's Stephen's favorite teacher. Was, June corrected, scrolling through her tablet, until Victoria deposited $10,000 into her account last month. The betrayal stung, but I forced myself to focus. What about the restraining order? Granted this morning, Felicity said. They can't come within 500 feet of you or the kids, but that's not the biggest news. She pulled out her phone, playing a voicemail on speaker. Ms. Wong? A trembling voice filled the room. This is Margaret, Victoria, and Kent's former housekeeper. I have information about what really happened the night Mr. Germain confronted his parents. Please call me back. June sat up straighter. The night before his accident? My heart stopped. Are you saying? We're not saying anything yet, Felicity cut in. But I'm meeting Margaret in an hour. Want to come along? The diner was nearly empty when we arrived. Margaret sat in a corner booth, nervously shredding a napkin. She looked older than I remembered, her hands shaking as she clutched her coffee cup. I should have come forward sooner, she said after we sat down. But they threatened my grandson's college fund, said they'd make sure he never got into a good school. Take your time, Felicity said gently. Tell us what happened. It was late, maybe 11. Mr. Germain came bursting in, waving papers. He was shouting about insurance fraud, about people dying. Mrs. Victoria started crying, but it was fake. I'd seen those tears before. Mr. Kent tried to buy him off, offered him money to keep quiet. My coffee grew cold as Margaret continued. Mr. Germain refused, said he was going to the authorities. That's when Mr. James showed up. James Richardson was there? Felicity leaned forward. Margaret nodded. They didn't know I was still in the house. I heard Mr. James say, "Handle it or I'll handle it myself." The next day, she choked up. The next day, Mr. Germain had his accident. The diner seemed to spin around me. Are you saying they had something to do with his death? I don't know for sure, Margaret whispered. But that night after Mr. Germain left, I heard Mrs. Victoria on the phone. She said, "Make it look natural." Felicity's phone buzzed. She read the message, her eyes widening. June found something. We need to go, now. Back at the office, June had covered a wall with photographs and documents. Look at this. She pointed to a series of text messages. The day of Germain's accident, James made 3 calls to a burner phone. The same number called Victoria right after Germain's crash was reported. That's circumstantial, Felicity warned. This isn't. June pulled up a video. Traffic cam footage from that day. Watch the silver car behind Germain's. We watched as a silver sedan deliberately swerved toward Germain's car, causing him to lose control. I ran the plates, June said quietly. The car was rented by one of James's shell companies. The room went silent. Finally, Felicity spoke. This isn't just a custody case anymore. This is murder. My phone chimed. A text from Trinity. Mom, there's a weird package here from Grandma Victoria. Don't open it, I texted back. Don't touch it. I'm coming home. I'll call the police, Felicity said, already dialing. June, get that video to my contact at the DA's office. Margaret, we'll need your testimony. The package sat innocently on my front porch, a simple brown box with Victoria's elegant handwriting. The police bomb squad approached it cautiously. It's clean, the technician finally announced. Just photos and a note. The photos showed Jermaine and me in happier times. The note read, It's not too late to drop the custody case. Don't make us handle this the hard way. Again. Trinity read the note over my shoulder. Mom, did they kill Dad? I pulled her close, feeling Stephen join our hug. I don't know, baby, but we're going to find out, and this time, they're not going to get away with it. Felicity appeared beside us. The DA wants to meet tomorrow. They're opening an investigation into Jermaine's death. What does that mean for the custody case? I asked. It means, Felicity smiled grimly, that Victoria and Kent just made their biggest mistake yet. They threatened you in writing, with witnesses. Looking at my children's faces, I felt a fierce determination replace my fear. Then let's make sure it's their last mistake. Mom, Stephen asked, are we in danger? I met Felicity's eyes, seeing my own resolve reflected there. No, honey, they are. The courthouse buzzed with tension as Victoria and Kent's lawyer, Marcus, strutted before the judge. Your Honor, we have evidence that proves Ms. Willow's instability and unfitness as a parent. I sat straight-backed beside Felicity, watching him present the doctored photos. My children sat in the gallery with June, their faces brave but worried. These photos, Marcus continued, show a pattern of negligence and substance abuse. Objection, Felicity stood. Your Honor, we can prove these images have been digitally altered. Approach the bench, Judge Reynolds ordered. As the lawyers huddled with the judge, Victoria caught my eye from across the courtroom, her smile cold and confident. Kent wouldn't meet my gaze, his attention fixed on his phone. These allegations are serious, Judge Reynolds announced. Ms. Wong, you claim to have proof of tampering? Yes, Your Honor. Felicity gestured to our digital forensics expert, who approached with his laptop. The metadata reveals extensive manipulation. Furthermore, we can prove these photos were actually taken at the defendant's residence. Victoria's smile faltered. But more concerning, Felicity continued, is the pattern of harassment and intimidation our client has endured. Marcus scoffed. Baseless accusations. Your Honor, Felicity interrupted, I call Margaret Thompson to the stand. Victoria's face went white as her former housekeeper walked to the witness stand. Kent finally looked up, his expression panicked. Ms. Thompson, Felicity began, please tell the court what you witnessed the night before Jermaine Weaver's death. Objection, Marcus jumped up. This is irrelevant to the custody case. Your Honor, Felicity countered, it speaks directly to the defendant's character and their true motivations in seeking custody. Judge Reynolds leaned forward. I'll allow it. Proceed. Margaret's testimony fell like bombs in the quiet courtroom. With each revelation, I watched Victoria and Kent sink further into their seats. When she described the phone call about making something look natural, gasps echoed through the gallery. And this threat, Felicity held up the note from the package, arrived yesterday. The police have verified Mrs. Victoria's handwriting. Marcus scrambled to his feet. Your Honor, we request a brief recess. Denied, Judge Reynolds said sharply. Ms. Wong, continue. Felicity nodded to June, who brought forward a laptop. We have traffic camera footage from the day of Jermaine's accident. I draw your attention to this silver sedan. As the video played, showing the deliberate swerve that caused my husband's crash, Trinity buried her face in June's shoulder. Stephen sat rigid, his small hands clenched into fists. The vehicle was rented by a company owned by James Richardson, Felicity concluded, who, coincidentally, is funding this custody battle. This is outrageous, Victoria suddenly shrieked, jumping to her feet. You have no right, Mrs. Victoria, Judge Reynolds warned. Sit down, or I'll have you removed. You don't understand, Victoria continued, her composure cracking. She ruined everything. Jermaine was supposed to save our family name, restore our fortune. Instead, he chose her, this nobody, and then he threatened to expose us. Victoria, shut up, Kent hissed, but it was too late. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Bailiffs moved forward as Victoria continued her meltdown. James Richardson, who had been watching from the back, quietly slipped out the door. "Order!" Judge Reynolds banged her gavel. "In light of these developments, this custody hearing is suspended. Bailiffs, please detain Mr. and Mrs. Victoria pending criminal investigation. Ms. Wong, I trust you're sharing this evidence with the district attorney?" "Already done, Your Honor." As Victoria and Kent were led away in handcuffs, Victoria turned to me one last time. "You'll regret this," she spat. "You have no idea what you've done." I stood, finally finding my voice. "No, Victoria, you did this. Every step of the way, you chose revenge over family, and now you've lost both." The judge called me forward. "Ms. Willow, in light of these events, I'm issuing an immediate permanent restraining order against your in-laws. Full custody remains with you. Court adjourned." Outside the courtroom, I hugged my children tight as reporters swarmed around us. Felicity handled the press while June shepherded us to her car. "Mom?" Trinity asked once we were safely inside. "Is it really over?" "The custody battle is," I said, watching police cars race past, likely heading to arrest James. "But there's more to come. The police will have questions about your dad's accident." "Good," Stephen said firmly. "Dad deserves justice." June started the car. "Where to?" I looked at my children, seeing Jermaine's strength in their faces. "Home. We're going home." As we drove away, my phone buzzed with a text from Felicity. "DA wants to meet tomorrow. They're calling it conspiracy to commit murder. We're not done fighting yet." I squeezed my children's hands. No, we weren't done fighting, but for the first time since this began, we were fighting on our terms. "James Richardson made a deal," Felicity announced, striding into the DA's office where I'd been waiting. "He's turning on Victoria and Kent in exchange for leniency." District Attorney Sarah Martinez nodded grimly. "He's singing like a canary, not just about Jermaine's accident, but about decades of corporate fraud, tax evasion, and 2 other suspicious deaths connected to their insurance schemes." My hand shook as I accepted the coffee June offered. What exactly did he say about Jermaine? According to James, Sarah consulted her notes, Victoria called him the night Jermaine threatened to expose their fraud. She was hysterical, saying they'd lose everything. James hired someone to scare Jermaine on his drive home. It wasn't supposed to be fatal. "But it was," I whispered. The door opened and a man in a suit entered. "Ms. Willow, I'm Detective Roberts. We've arrested the driver of the silver sedan. He's corroborating Mr. Richardson's story." "Mom?" Trinity's voice came from my phone on speaker. "Are you okay? Ms. Peterson is here. She wants to talk to you." I exchanged looks with Felicity. "The teacher they bribed? Put her on," Felicity said. "Willow?" Ms. Peterson's voice trembled. "I need to confess something. Victoria didn't just pay me to testify, she asked me to plant drugs in Stephen's backpack, said it would help their case." The room went deadly quiet. "Did you do it?" I asked, my voice ice cold. "No, I couldn't. That's why I'm here. I've already given a statement to the police about the bribe. I'm so sorry. I should have come forward sooner." Detective Roberts was already on his phone. "We'll need that statement for the new charges: attempted evidence tampering, conspiracy to distribute drugs in a school zone." "The press is going to have a field day," June muttered, scrolling through her phone. "It's already trending. Wealthy grandparents' custody battle reveals murder plot." Sarah leaned forward. "Willow, we need you to testify, not just about the custody battle, but about everything. Your relationship with Jermaine, his confrontation with his parents, the pattern of harassment." "I'll do it," I said firmly, "but I need to know my children will be protected." "Already arranged," Felicity assured me. "The court appointed a victim advocate specifically for Trinity and Stephen, and June's sister is a trauma counselor who specializes in working with kids." A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the glass walls, we saw Victoria being led in handcuffs toward another office, her designer outfit replaced by an orange jumpsuit. She spotted me and started screaming. "You think you've won? We still have money. We still have connections. This isn't over." Detective Roberts closed the blinds. "Actually, it is. We've frozen their assets, all of them, including the offshore accounts James told us about." My phone buzzed again. Stephen this time. "Mom, there's a lady here from the newspaper. She says she knew Dad from college." "Rachel?" I sat up straighter. "Put her on." "Willow." Rachel's familiar voice filled the room. I'm at your house with the kids and June's sister. I have something you need to see. Jermaine sent me an email the morning he died. He must have known something might happen. Forward it to me, Felicity instructed, already opening her laptop. The email appeared moments later. My heart clenched at seeing Jermaine's words. Rachel, if anything happens to me, give this to Willow. My parents aren't who they pretend to be. I've attached proof of everything, the fraud, the deaths, the cover-ups. I confronted them last night. They offered me money to keep quiet, but I refused. I'm taking everything to the FBI tomorrow. I just pray I'm not too late. Tell Willow I love her and the kids more than anything. Tell her to stay strong. Sarah was already on the phone. Get me the FBI liaison, now. There's more, Rachel said. I have the original documents Jermaine collected. He gave them to me for safekeeping the day before the accident. I've kept them hidden all these years, afraid of what Victoria and Kent might do. But now they can't hurt anyone else, I finished. Detective Roberts straightened his tie. Ms. Willow, would you like to be present when we inform Victoria and Kent about this new evidence? I thought about Jermaine, about his courage in standing up to his parents, about his love for our family. Yes, I said. I want them to know that Jermaine won, that the truth won. Mom? Trinity's voice came through the phone again. Are you coming home soon? Yes, baby, and this time, when I say it's over, I mean it. Your dad made sure of that. As we gathered our things to leave, June squeezed my hand. He'd be so proud of you, you know. Of all of you. Looking at the email, at Jermaine's last words of love and protection, I knew she was right. We'd fought his battle, exposed the truth, and protected our children, just like he'd wanted. The courtroom fell silent as Victoria and Kent were led in for sentencing. Gone were their designer clothes and arrogant smirks, replaced by prison jumpsuits and hollow expressions. James Richardson had already received 15 years in his plea deal, and now it was their turn. Trinity gripped my hand as Judge Reynolds began speaking. In all my years on the bench, I've rarely seen such a calculated pattern of destruction aimed at one's own family. Victoria's shoulders shook with what might have been sobs, but I'd learned to recognize her performances. The evidence presented by the prosecution is overwhelming, Judge Reynolds continued. Corporate fraud spanning decades, multiple deaths connected to insurance schemes, and most egregiously, the calculated murder of your own son when he threatened to expose your crimes. Kent's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my clients maintain that Jermaine's death was an accident. An accident arranged by Mr. Richardson at their request, the judge cut in sharply, as his testimony and considerable evidence has proven. Stephen leaned against my other side as the judge listed the charges: conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, attempted kidnapping, evidence tampering, witness intimidation. The list seemed endless. Victoria and Kent, Judge Reynolds fixed them with a stern gaze. You are hereby sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Victoria's performance suddenly shifted to rage. She spun toward me, her face contorted. This is your fault. You turned our son against us. No, Mother. Trinity's clear voice rang out. She'd stood up, trembling but determined. You did this. You killed our dad because he was honest and good. Everything you're not. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Victoria's face went slack with shock as she stared at her granddaughter. Young lady, Judge Reynolds said gently, would you like to make a statement for the record? Trinity nodded, squeezing my hand once before walking to the podium. At 12 years old, she looked so small there, but her voice was steady. My dad used to tell us that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. He died because he believed that, because he was trying to stop you from hurting more people. She took a deep breath. You didn't just kill him. You tried to destroy our whole family. But we're stronger than you. We always were. Stephen stood up next. I want to say something, too. Judge Reynolds nodded, and he joined his sister. You tried to make everyone think Mom was bad, he said, his voice shaking slightly. But she's the one who protected us. She's the one who fought for us. You're not our grandparents anymore. You're just criminals who happen to be related to our dad. Kent seemed to age decades in moments, slumping in his chair. But Victoria wasn't finished. We did everything for this family, She shrieked as the bailiffs moved toward her. Everything, you ungrateful! Remove the defendants, Judge Reynolds ordered. As they were led away, she turned to my children. Thank you both for your courage. This court commends you. Outside, reporters swarmed, but Felicity and June created a protective barrier around us. Detective Roberts approached with a small evidence bag. We found this in Victoria's personal safe, he said, handing it to me. Thought you should have it. Inside was a photo I'd never seen before. Jermaine teaching Trinity to ride a bike, his face full of joy. On the back he'd written, "My greatest achievement isn't what I do, but who I love." There's something else. Sarah Martinez appeared, holding a folder. We've identified 3 families who lost loved ones in Victoria and Kent's previous insurance schemes. They want to meet you. Why? I asked. Because you did what they couldn't. You exposed the truth. They're calling you their hero. Trinity tugged my sleeve. Mom, can we go see Dad? I nodded, knowing she meant his grave. We hadn't visited since this all began. At the cemetery, June handed us each a rose. The headstone was simple, just as Jermaine would have wanted. But someone had left a newspaper there, headlines declaring justice for his murder. Hey, Dad. Trinity placed her rose down. We did it. We fought back, just like you taught us. And we won, Stephen added, setting his flower beside his sister's. I placed my rose and the photo from Victoria's safe against the stone. You can rest now, love. They can't hurt anyone else. My phone buzzed, a text from Felicity. FBI wants to talk tomorrow. They're reopening cold cases based on James's testimony. More families might get closure. Looking at my children, I saw Jermaine in their strength, their courage, their unwavering sense of right and wrong. Victoria and Kent had tried to destroy us, but they'd failed. In fighting back, we'd grown stronger, closer, more determined to honor Jermaine's memory. Mom, Stephen asked, are we going to be okay now? I pulled them both close, feeling the warm breeze that reminded me of Jermaine's embrace. Yes, baby, we're going to be more than okay. We're going to be extraordinary. Ready? June asked, adjusting my blazer as we stood outside the community center. I nodded, clutching my notes. Through the doors, I could hear the murmur of the crowd. Families who'd lost loved ones to Victoria and Kent's schemes, others fighting their own custody battles, and advocates working to change the system. Mom, Trinity called from inside. They're waiting. Taking a deep breath, I walked onto the small stage. Familiar faces dotted the audience. Felicity, Detective Roberts, Sarah Martinez, and most importantly, my children sitting in the front row with Rachel. My husband used to say that doing the right thing isn't always easy, I began, echoing Trinity's words from the courtroom. When I started fighting for my children, I thought I was alone. I was wrong. The crowd grew silent as I continued. Because of your support, we didn't just win a custody battle. We exposed decades of fraud that had destroyed families. We brought justice to those who thought they were above the law. And now we're changing the system that allowed it to happen. Sarah stood up, holding a thick document. The bill passed this morning, she announced. The Jermaine's law reforms are officially in effect. Applause erupted. The new legislation would protect families from fraudulent custody claims and strengthen penalties for using the court system for harassment. But our work isn't finished, I continued. Today, we're launching the Phoenix Family Foundation. Thanks to the seized assets from Victoria and Kent's estates, we can provide legal support to families fighting similar battles. Felicity stepped forward. We've already taken on our first 10 cases, and with the FBI's continued investigation, we're identifying more victims of Victoria and Kent's schemes who need support. A woman in the third row raised her hand. My sister lost her husband in one of their insurance scams. We never knew the truth until your case broke open. How do you move forward after something like this? Trinity stood up before I could answer. May I? She asked, and I nodded. She walked to the microphone, her confidence reminding me so much of Jermaine. We move forward by helping others, by making sure no one else goes through this alone. My dad died trying to expose the truth, but his death wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of ours. Stephen joined his sister, and we're not victims anymore. We're survivors who fight back. June wiped tears from her eyes as she handed me an envelope. This just arrived. You should read it now. The letter was from a mother in Arizona. Your story gave me courage to fight my own battle against corrupt family members trying to take my son. Today, I won full custody. Thank you for showing me that justice is possible. That's the 15th letter this week, June whispered. Detective Roberts approached the stage. We've got another one, he said quietly. Family in Florida. Same pattern as Victoria and Kent. Want to help us build the case? I looked at my children, seeing the question in their eyes. They nodded. Yes, I said. Send me the details. As the formal presentation ended, people gathered in small groups, sharing stories and resources. Rachel hung back, holding something behind her back. Found this in my old college papers, she said, revealing a photo album. Thought you might want it for the foundation's wall. The album was filled with pictures of Jermaine teaching at his first school, working with underprivileged kids, building the life Victoria and Kent had despised. In every photo, his passion for helping others shone through. Perfect, I said. This is exactly what the foundation represents. Trinity and Stephen crowded around to see the photos. Dad would love this, Stephen said. Using their money to help people? It's like the ultimate karma. Felicity joined us, her phone buzzing. James Richardson is offering additional testimony. Says he wants to make amends. And 3 more families have come forward about suspicious accidents linked to Victoria and Kent. Then we keep fighting, I said. For every family, every child, every person who needs someone in their corner. June hugged me tight. You've built something amazing here, you know that? Looking around the room at all the people connecting, sharing resources, finding hope, I felt Jermaine's presence stronger than ever. We'd transformed our tragedy into triumph, our pain into purpose. Mom? Trinity held up her phone. The support group wants to know when we're starting the next session. Tell them tomorrow, I said. There's no time to waste. As we gathered our things to leave, Stephen picked up one of Jermaine's photos. Hey, Mom, I think I want to be a teacher like Dad. Help kids who need it. I hugged him close, watching Trinity already organizing the next day's activities with June. We'd not only survived, we'd found our mission, our purpose, our way to keep Jermaine's spirit alive through helping others. Ready to go home? June asked. I looked at my children, at the room full of people we'd helped, at the foundation that would carry on Jermaine's legacy of doing what's right. No, I smiled. We're ready to get back to work.